Byers has been criticised again, this time for his abrupt U-turn on rail track shares.
But are U-turns actually good things? The sign that a politician is prepared to admit to and rectify his mistakes.
Joining me in the studio is Liberal Democrat MP Chloe Deacon, who is in favour of U-turns, and opposing Conservative MP Billy No-Mates.
It's pronounced No-Mates.
Is it really? All right then, Mr. No-Mates, tell me why you disapprove of U-turns.
Well, let's put it this way. Imagine you're driving down a busy road. Suddenly, you make an unexpected U-turn, swerving into the oncoming traffic. A 5-car pileup ensues, and your vehicle careers into a queue outside the post office, killing 15 pensioners. It's not good, is it?
Well, that seems to make sense, doesn't it, Ms. Deacon?
Ah, but what if you're in that same car on that same road and a big cow wanders out in front of you? You make a U-turn, the big cow is saved, and the pensioners all cheer.
Come on, what if your U-turn startled the big cow, which then went mad and ran across the road into Dixon's next to the post office, damaging electrical goods and frightening the pensioners into having heart attacks and possibly weeing on the floor?
But what if?
Shush now. So, has Stephen Byers saved the big cow or startled the big cow?
There isn't a big cow.
It's a metaphor. Duh.
Thank you, members of the opposition. If rumours are to be believed, Tony Blair has a stalking horse.
Really? What, like Mr. Ed?
No, Lolly, Mr. Ed was a talking horse. This is a stalking horse. It could be our next Prime Minister.
Not if he can't talk, he won't be.
Joining me to discuss the possible anti-Blair coup is government enforcer and spokesperson Brian Stern. Stern, the backbenchers are, it seems, increasingly tired of Blair's presidential style.
Well, not everyone likes Paul Smith shirts.
No, I'm talking about his refusal to debate matters such as Iraq or sending troops into Afghanistan.
Oh, well, Tony has always encouraged healthy debate within New Labour. He consults the backbenchers, he listens to the backbenchers.
He ignores the backbenchers.
Yes, no. Tony does not think he's the president. He thinks he's...
Christ.
Yes, Christ. No. He thinks he's an approachable, flexible leader like his hero.
Margaret Thatcher.
Yes, no, yes. Thatcher.
No retraction.
No, it is Thatcher. Do you know, I feel strangely cleansed. It's the first time I haven't contradicted myself since we won the election in 1997.
By cheating.
Yes, no.
Commentating maestro Kenneth Wolstenholme passed away this week.
He was, of course, most famous for his definitive commentary on England's triumph in the 1966 World Cup final and the legendary line, "They think it's all over, it is now."
But of course other people commentated on that game as well, including a very young Ben Moseley. This is how he covered the end of the 1966 final for The Way It Is.
Bobby Moore there, to Hurst. Hurst streaking towards the German goal. Some people are on the pitch. Now that, I'm afraid, amounts to a public order offence. That is it's dangerous, that. It doesn't do the game any favours whatsoever. It's a goal! It's a... how many is that now, Phil? We win one! That is great! Smashing!
Archive Moseley there. Political refugee Stephen Byers is in the news again this week with the news that private firms will make millions from the London Underground.
Sorry, mate.
Excuse me, what are you doing?
I'm just setting up my drums.
Drums? This is a news studio.
Not for much longer, Richard. As soon as our programme is over, they're going to start using the studio to record John Peel sessions.
They can't wait to get rid of us, can they? We haven't even finished our final programme and already they're handing over our studio to Neanderthal percussionists with pierced eyebrows.
1, 2, 2. Sorry, mate.
I am not your mate. I am one of your betters.
A kick!
I don't resort to physical violence, Lolly. Besides, he's bigger than me.
No! One of my babies just kicked. That noise made it kick. Wow! Quick, Richard, feel my tummy.
No, thank you. It would feel awkward. Besides, that's the father's prerogative. Talking of which...
For the last time, Richard, I'm not telling you who the father is.
Do you know his name now? Don't you feel the need to contact him?
To me, he is still an anonymous sperm donor. He donated sperm at the Braddock Clinic along with lots of other men, including you. And that's where it stops. I've no intention of getting in touch with Mr. Gascoigne. Oops.
Mr. Gascoigne, that's the father's name.
I shouldn't have said that, but yes, if you must know, it is.
Do you know his first name?
Bamba.
Bamba Gascoigne.
That's right. You don't know him, do you?
Bamba Gascoigne.
What's the matter?
You mean to say you've never heard of Bamba Gascoigne, author, broadcaster, the thinking woman's Richard Whiteley?
Doesn't ring a bell, I'm afraid.
He hosted University Challenge, Lolly.
Oh, so he's clever, is he? Well, that's great. My babies will have good looks and brains.
Well, he's not that good looking, to be fair.
They'll get their looks from me, Richard.
There is one other thing you should know about Bamba Gascoigne.
What?
It's the pseudonym I used when I donated sperm at the Braddock Clinic.
Oh, God.
Yes, Lolly. I am the father of your babies.
Sorry, mate, I'll be gone in a minute.
I don't believe it. I need to sit down. I am sitting down. I need to stand up then.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to use my own name, and when I walked into the clinic, the lady on reception said she recognised me. She called me Bamba. I panicked. I decided to use that name when I, gave my starter for 10. A little bit more than 10 quid, actually, but...
So what do we do now?
Well, let's discuss it after the programme. Over dinner somewhere. My treat. Not that I'm wealthy or anything. In fact, my bank balance is...
I'm not going to ask you for money, Richard.
Good. Let's move on. Gordon Brown needs to find an extra £7 billion, yet he's promised not to raise income tax. With me is Treasury spokesman John Longsilver. So, Mr. Longsilver, how's he going to do it?
Sponsorship. He's going to be doing a sponsored grin. And he's very cleverly written someone at the top as sponsoring him for 10 quid, so that you feel if you don't do the same, you're being tight. Just try to remember, okay, every day, somewhere in Britain, a minister makes an expensive mistake. Let's, for heaven's sake, try to make a difference, yeah?
Are the rest of the cabinet doing anything?
Well, absolutely they are. At this very moment, John Prescott's sitting in a bath of beans.
For charity?
No, he's very hungry.
Yes, thank you.
They once said, hands that do dishes are as soft as your face. But now it's hands that operate Game Boys are becoming physically mutated. Yes, thumbs are the new fingers for the Game Boy generation.
According to a new study, youngsters' digits are evolving due to constant action upon gadgets. Joining us is Gavin Shandy, a hand expert. Is this true?
Yes. Research has shown that with constant repetitive hand action, the thumbs of teenagers have become more muscular and more dexterous than ever before.
Yeah, no, I meant, is it true that you're a hand expert?
Oh, yes. Yes, it is.
A hand expert. An expert on hands.
Yes. Now, research indicates that technology is causing physical alterations that
How exactly do you become an expert on hands?
Can you let me finish?
No, I'm sorry. It was a university, polytechnic, was a correspondence course in the back of What Fished magazine?
Oxford, actually.
Really?
Yes, I paid £40 and got a certificate. Can I get one?
Could you have a look at my hands, Gavin?
I'd be glad to, Lolly. Yes, you see, soft, slender digits attached to a palm that is alluring yet firm. It says you're compassionate, yet you mean business. Now, your palm, Richard, let me see. Oh, my God, it's all hairy.
Yes, I've got a syndrome. I'm taking cream.
Actually, your thumb and forefinger and indeed wrist all seem quite swollen as well, Richard.
Yes, it really is quite odd. You seem to have developed the same symptoms as a hand-busy teenager. Do you have a PlayStation, Richard?
For heaven's sake, of course I haven't got a PlayStation. I once played with my nephew Simon, but that was 20 years ago.
Oh. Do you do a lot of text messaging then?
No. When you've quite finished, I'd like my hand back.
What do you make of it?
I can't understand it, Lolly. Richard has the hand and wrist of a teenage boy. It doesn't make sense.
Yes, well, I think I've had about enough of this.
It's almost as if he's...
As if what? What's he been doing?
Yes, all right, I think that's enough hand expertise. Thank you, and go away.
Well, I really think...
No, you don't. Time to leave now.
I suggest you keep an eye on him, Lolly. That looks quite nasty. If he's not careful, he's apt to pull his...
Knob off.
Well, I was going to say forearm muscle, but I guess you'd better watch out for that as well, yes.
Jingle. A huge shake-up of the UK's gambling has been unveiled, paving the way for Las Vegas-style casino resorts in British holiday towns, chiefly Blackpool.
All the trappings of the famous Vegas Strip could come to Lancashire, including hotels shaped like Egyptian pyramids, Tom Jones cabaret concerts, armed police, pimps and crack whores.
Joining me from Gamblers Anonymous, or GA, is Peter Funename.
Actually, it's pronounced funny name.
Okay, Mr. Funny Name. Are you worried that this softening of the gaming laws will lead to more gambling addicts?
They will, without a doubt.
50 quid says it won't.
No! I do not gamble anymore, Richard. I was addicted, now I am free.
Why shouldn't other adults be allowed to gamble? It is a free choice.
No, not for everyone, Richard. For some, it's a disease, like me. I lost everything, my career, my house, my wife.
She left you.
No, I bet her on the 1986 Grand National. She belongs to a bookmaker now.
Why don't you try and win her back now that you're clean?
She wouldn't come back.
Bet she would. 20 quid.
No! Get thee behind me, Richard.
I'd rather not. Mr. Funny Name, will relaxed gaming laws turn Blackpool into the new Las Vegas?
I'm afraid it will, yes. Rows of overweight people sitting at fruit machines throwing what little money they have away while some terrible has-been singer tries to entertain them. I mean, I can see it now.
Well, of course you can see it now. That's what Blackpool's already like. I put it to you, Funny Name, that these changes in the law won't make much difference. Most of Blackpool already looks like Vegas.
You are so wrong.
I'm right.
You're wrong.
I'm right.
100 quid says you're wrong.
You're wrong. Now, back for one last burst of unfurnished insanity, here's Julie Bristol and Voice of a Woman.
Once again this week, the male-dominated media, him dear more like, have been complaining about children who are out of control. Fact! Children are not out of control. Only boys are out of control. All boys are yobs. Yobs is boys backwards. Well, yob is boy backwards, and then you stick the S on the end again. Anyway, all yobs are boys, and all criminals are men. The word criminal even has men in the middle. Criminal, meaning all men are crim, which is short for criminal, and so on. Men are thieves. The word thief has he in the middle. The thief. All robbers are men. Rob is a man's name. Vandals, mandals more like. And as for hooligans, hooligans. I tell you, hooligans, men, that's who. I'm Julie Bristol. Goodbye.
The Iron Lady, one of the country's best-known foghorns, is to fall silent after many years' annoying service.
In its time, it has guided entire communities safely onto the rocks and led to the wreck of the careers of several middle-aged men in glasses.
A memorial service, or Tory party conference, will fail to lay its ghost to rest later this year and at regular intervals from here to eternity.
And for listeners on Longwave, we're talking about Margaret Thatcher. Lifestyles of the rich and horsey now, as Nigel Kempton presents A Load of Old Posh.
This weekend sees the annual dragging of the Duchess of Fawcett's swimming pool. The Duchess's pool is one of only 3 in the world large enough to be tidal. And heating it accounts for 1/10 of the national grid. Now, the last time it was dragged, the pool gave up 42 human dead, including 16 European princes, 3 members of a moderately successful popular music combo who were previously believed to be working on their difficult 3rd album, and Lionel Blair. Though this was later denied by Mr. Blair's agent. All were auctioned at the Duchess's Bring and Bye-Bye sale, raising over £500 for poorly donkeys. This year, the beneficiaries are to be expatriate geese.
Anything else, Kempton?
Well, I hear Jacqueline de Beaufort lingeringly, the Countess of Hotston, fancies you. She's heard you on the radio. She thinks you sound nasty.
What's she like?
Well, she's got a face like an explosion in a clown factory. But she's as loaded as they come, and she has a reputation for being filthier than a rainy night in Rill. What do you say?
Wait for me in the green room. The decent stuff is in the cabinet under the telly.
I'll see you there.
The government is to introduce new measures that will give short-term jail sentences to the parents of children who commit criminal acts, such as underage drinking or drug taking.
Tony Blair, Jack Straw and Prince Charles are due to be sentenced shortly. Even by the lachrymose standards of the film industry, this year's Oscars were a tear-drenched blubberthon. Halle Berry, in particular, was incontinent.
Well, it's understandable, Richard. She was the first black woman ever to win Best Actress.
And the first ever to give an acceptance speech lasting longer than the film itself. The question is the Dream Factory really an equal opportunities employer these days? Our correspondent James Gravelax has been living in Hollywood for the last 3 years. James, what news from the Boulevard of Broken Dreams?
Dreams, it's right, Richard, as indeed is Boulevard and Broken and of. LA is a great big freeway. Put 100 down and buy a car. In a week, maybe 2, they'll make you a star. So sang Dionne Warwick, who was so tragically mispronounced for so many years. And that lyric, with its bittersweet irony, so rare in American popular music, or indeed anywhere in this great big lardy cake of a nation, holds as true today as it ever has. The weeks do still turn into years, and all the stars that never were are still to be found, pumping gas and parking cars. In the case of my Ford Sierra, parking them quite badly and cracking a wing mirror. And of course you can't just replace the mirror these days, can you? You mostly have to buy a new door. It's a bloody scam is what it is.
Yes, James, if I can just stop you there. Will success for black film stars lead, as Halle Berry claimed, to greater chances for black Americans generally?
Well, it's a significant staging post on the road to equality, but only one of many on what is a very, very long road. Paul Robeson, Sidney Poitier, Whoopi Goldberg have all blazed a trail. Morgan Freeman, of course, played the President of America in Deep Impact. A vision of the future a lot of Americans found more disturbing than the film's Earth-threatening asteroid, I suspect. But here's the nub, Richard. I can't help feeling that it's only when a black man or woman is in the real White House that we should start cheering. And not because some film star has been granted favour by a bunch of anonymous weirdos who thought Forrest Gump and Titanic were the best films of their respective years.
Well, I think you've made a good point there, James. Well done. How ironic that you should finally come up with the goods on this, the last ever edition of The Way It Is.
The last?
Yes.
Well, the last ever edition of The Way It Is, there, tonight, with me reporting on it and getting it right for once?
Yes.
Oh, Christ! Right, well, let's see, scenes of terrible devastation here, Richard. John bloody Simpson's laughing at me and everything. Shut up, John. It's really bad.
Thank you, James.
And now have your credit cards and checkbooks handy, because it's your last chance to buy one of our ever-popular topical news plates.
Once again, we've teamed up with one of the UK's leading behaviourally subnormal paint painters to bring you The Way It Is final programme news plate.
Lovingly created using only the lowest quality materials available, this crockery thing is a delightfully overpriced souvenir of the most occasionally listened to while you're making tomorrow's sandwiches news programmes ever broadcast.
The central image features buxom, beautiful Lolly Swain next to sneering Mr. Rigsby lookalike Richard as they broadcast to all the nations of the world, represented by a barely recognisable globe with world written on it in green.
We can glimpse all the regular contributors to the programme, including James Gravelax, Quentin Rumpelteazer, and the very Reverend Jez Wright. And because our plate artist is behaviourally subnormal, he's also drawn a cock.
Lovely. And lastly, in the top corner is a beautiful image of the Diana, the Princess of the Wales, gazing down on the whole scene, but concentrating principally on the cock.
This plate can be yours for the very reasonable price of all you hold dear in the world.
Please remember, the plate you receive may differ from the one described. It might not even be a plate. It might just be some old tissues in a jiffy bag.
Jiffy bag, yes.
Yes.
And don't forget to order that fantastic news plate from the usual address.
Or alternatively, do forget.
Well, that's it, Richard. The end of an era.
Era.
Era, sorry. The way it is comes to a close.
Yep, I've been trying to think of an appropriate way to bring everything to a conclusion,
We could just say goodbye.
and I've decided to recite a haiku on the subject.
Yes, but we could just say goodbye.
Here it is. It is over. Sadly, the doctor draws the blind. Outside, birds sing. A new dawn.
That was very touching, Richard. Richard? 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 Richard!
Mother?
Richard, you're awake. Oh, what a relief. You've had a fever, darling. You've been asleep for 3 whole days.
A fever? Where am I?
In your bedroom at home. All your teddies are in bed with you.
And my...
And your cuddly Henry Kissinger doll, yes. Dr. Rumpelteazer, Richard's awake.
Hello, Richard's mummy. And hello, little Richard. Not the singer, obviously. Feeling better, are we?
I've just had an amazingly detailed and vivid dream.
Oh, what sort of dream? Should we change the sheets?
No.
or something?
It was an almost implausibly specific dream. I was grown up and presenting a news program on Radio 4 called The Way It Is.
Well, you do like your news, don't you, Richard? There aren't many other 14-year-old boys who have a poster of Peter Sissons on their bedroom wall.
And everyone in the dream seemed really familiar. Mother, you were in it. You were a lady called Lolly. And Rumpelteazer, you were, well, pretty much how you are normally, actually.
I think the boy may still be delirious. Let me just try the thermometer.
That's supposed to go in the mouth, isn't it, Doctor? Not in the...
Yes, sorry.
And, shouldn't it be Richard's temperature you're taking, not your own?
Oh! Yes. Silly me.
So it was all a dream. Lolly, the studio, the guest with the peculiar names.
Was it as funny as your on-the-hour dream?
Not quite, no. But it was a hell of a lot funnier than my week-ending dream, which went on for far too long.
Well, you were bound to have vivid dreams, Richard. You've had a very high fever. We were all concerned. Even Paulie, our Finnish exchange student. Isn't that right, Paulie?
It's very cold in Finland.
Yes. I think that's how I caught this fever, jumping in that plunge pool full of herring with Paulie. Hey, Paulie.
It's very cold in Finland.
Yes, right, we've had enough of that.
Hi.
Oh, look, Richard, it's the Vicar Jez Wright and his young Vietnamese wife come to see how you are.
Hi. I've just taken my wife up the fudge box. And from that sweet shop, I bought you some toffees.
Oh, how kind.
Mummy, where's Daddy?
He's still away on business, Richard.
Who's this man?
It's your Uncle James. Don't you remember, Richard? He's been living with us for the last 3 years.
Uncle is right, Richard. Though that's very much uncle in inverted commas, if you catch my drift. And yet, even though I'm not your real Uncle Richard, I can't help feeling as I watch you squinting at me like some sort of imposter that it really can't be healthy for a boy of your age to spend quite so long lazing in bed, sweating and mumbling.
But I've had a fever, Uncle James.
Fever?
Yes.
What, an actual fever here in your bedroom?
Yes.
Oh, Christ. Right, well, let's see. I don't know, seeds of terrible devastation here, Richard. Soggy Jim Jams and everything. It's really bad.
It's good to have you back, Richard.
It's good to be back, Mum.
I'll get you a Lucasade and something to read.
The Economist, please, the Spectator and the Beano. Just for the letters, they're priceless. Oh, there's no place like home.
That's right. However many dreams you have, you'll always end up here. You're Richard, I'm your mum, and that's...
The way it is?
I was going to say how things are.
Performed by Laura Shavin, Dave Lamb, Chris Pavlo and Simon Evans. It was written by Simon Blackwell, John Holmes, Danny Robinson, Dan Turtle, Paul Sassini and Howard Ricklow, Terry Newman, James Carey, Ashley Blaker and Simon Evans, with help from the cast and Richard Ward. The production team was Serene Baines, Jerry Peel and Kevin Matthew. It was edited by John Whitehall. It was recorded in London's Drill Hall and the producer was Alex Walsh-Taylor.
Richard! Wake up, Richard!
Lolly. Oh my God, I've just had a nightmare. I dreamt that the whole of The Way It Is was just a dream.
Oh, just accept it, Richard. You were sacked. Now I've got to go to work. Look after the babies, will you?
Coochie-coo, coochie-coo. Hello, Quins. Hello, Molly. Hello, Polly. Hello, Dolly. Hello, Holly. Hello, Kissinger.